the unalphabetical host of Deep Space and Dragons.
Well, I mean, that makes it sound like you're the only host that's not alphabetical.
Then speak up for yourself. I gave you a platform, man. Enunciate.
Well, I mean, I am Carl. I'm a little bit bothered now because, like, now, not only is our podcast title not alphabetical, but I've realized that the letters of my name aren't alphabetical either.
So, what would it be? Urkel? Urkel's not terrible. Like, I don't hate it. Like, if your name was Carl Urkel. I mean, if we use last names, which we're not about to say on stream, I think we would... Yeah, then it would work, kind of.
Well, yeah, that would be alphabetical for me.
Indeed. So, before we get into whatever our topic was, because I might have blanked on it, what's new in the Carlverse? We're professionals.
So... Well, so I've been wanting to talk about musicals with you for a while because
you refused to watch Hazbin Hotel because you're too cool for that?
You're right. I have not watched Hazbin Hotel, which I mean would fit right on point. But no, I watched Wonka with Timothée Chalamet, the guy who plays in Dune.
I liked it better as the chosen one.
Yeah, have you seen Wonka?
No, I just really liked him as the chosen one. It's going to be hard to top that. He made such a good Anakin Skywalker.
His acting range is quite broad, because he is somewhere in between Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka.
To be fair, Johnny Depp, I think, was actually William Wonka. Like, he got too close to the sun with that one.
But so then, I was watching Wonka, and it's not exactly surprising because the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a musical. But nowhere in the advertising for Wonka did I see that it was going to be a musical. So, the first song starts playing, and he starts singing, and it's like, oh, well, I mean, I don't mind a musical. But I was just, slightly caught off guard.
I see. Accidental musicals.
Well, and like similarly, like the new Mean Girls movie, the Mean Girls is a classic with Lindsay Lohan, and I
still have yet to make
any of the other actors' name. Well, so I saw the trailer for the new Mean Girls.
That's so fetch.
And I was super excited because Tina Fey, the legend that she is, was still on board with this remake. And so I was excited to see what they might do differently to spice it up for a modern audience.
Oh, a reverse Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you will.
Well, I mean, like I said, I haven't actually seen the movie yet. But again, none of the advertising really made it seem like it was going to be a musical. And apparently, it is just the same musical, except based on the Broadway musical version of Mean Girls.
I need you to go on a mental journey because I need to tell you what I'm imagining, and there's a few steps.
Okay.
So first, think about Lucky Charms cereal. Picture a Lucky Charms box. Now think about Lucky Charms Oops All Marshmallows. You picturing that?
Okay.
Now picture the Mean Girls DVD, and it says Oops All Musicals.
well, they do have a music note hidden in the title.
That's
so
delightful.
there is a small clue that it might be a musical, but apparently, it's just like, oh, it's a musical. That's random. And so then I was thinking, like, are musicals making a comeback? And I was starting to think about, like,
so musicals have never went anywhere.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for the most part, they're relegated to actual, like, stage performances.
Well,
and people know what they're getting into before they go to the theater because they specifically signed up to go see a musical.
Like a weird counterpoint, though. So first up, Glee did really well. I recently went through a big chunk of the first season of Glee at a superb owl party. And it's like, it's the kind of cheesy drama people love. But the thing is,
Fair.
like, a large chunk of my friend group are really into musicals.
Huh.
Like, if you were to say, hey, Cassie, want to go see a musical? She'd already be packed. So it's like, yeah, theater musicals are what people think of. But the musical really has never actually, like, disappeared. I mean, Hamilton gave it, like, a resurgence, as it were. But, like, here's my weird counterpoint. So we're on an episode about musicals, and I'm like, okay, what musicals have I seen? And then I thought about something weird. How many shows I've watched that just randomly break into song for no reason in my life? So, is not every Disney movies from 1990 to 2010 a musical?
Yeah, and then they're do live action remakes. But most of the time, the songs that they add don't actually resonate with the themes of the musical of the original movie. And then they also don't progress the plot because the plot can't change just to sub in a new musical number. I believe maybe this was Ryan George doing Aladdin pitch meeting. I haven't actually seen live action Aladdin either, so I'm making comments on things that I'm not entirely familiar with. But
the version of Aladdin I'm most familiar with is the SNES platforming game. Just felt the need to share that. Please continue.
But so apparently in the live action remake of Aladdin, Princess Jasmine gets a song. Because when you're writing a musical, certain characters, you'll give them a song because they haven't said anything in a while, or they haven't had a song. It's like a contractual obligation that each actor or player has.
To follow that one up a bit with a mini tangent. So, have you seen Hamilton?
No, I actually have not.
So, first off, Hamilton was amazing, and it was probably the first musical since I've been in my 30s that I sat down and watched an entire musical. But also in the shadows of the internet, someone did a series of Hamilton covers to do the entire story of the first season of Critical Role.
Okay.
Where they restructured it, and we didn't use the songs in order for Hamilton, but we definitely made covers of the entire soundtrack and restructured it into this Critical Role story. With good production values and good singing. And it's kind of funny because if you restructure and rebuild songs, it's not hard to change what a song's about while still keeping the melody, and doing a deep cover of it is pretty easy to do. But the Disney movies are made by focus groups, not artists. And a focus group will always play it safe.
Well, so Princess Jasmine, they added a song into they added a song into the live action remake. It's something like "I Will Not Be Silenced" or something along those lines. And so she starts singing this song, and it's broad and emotional. But again, it didn't really resonate with the original themes of the movie because the movie wasn't really about female empowerment. It's just
Have you not seen a Disney movie since 2015? They're all about female empowerment, Carl. Are you even a feminist? Get your shit together.
Well, so she sings the song about how she's not going to be silenced, and then immediately, as soon as the song is done, the guards come and silence her.
Accurate. Perfect. No notes. 10 out of 10.
I believe that there was a Ryan George skit that pointed that out for me because, like I said, I haven't actually seen the movie.
Fair.
I'm not a valid critic for the live action Disney remakes because I don't really like the fact that they're not really live action.
I agree completely. On a different note, though, I Hazbin Hotel's just a straight up musical, right? 2 to 3 good quality songs. Most of the cast are off-Broadway performers. But you know what show had a lot of songs per square foot? Insane? Was Steven Universe. I'd say that show was 60% song. I think if someone made the argument that Steven Universe was in fact a musical, I might let them have it.
But see, you have to be careful about musicals because, like I said, sometimes they just throw out songs for actors or actors or actresses because they need to keep them happy, or this character hasn't said anything in a while.
I need to pause for a nomenclature moment. So a female actor's still an actor. So does the word actress even need to exist? Or are we just adding letters to something for no reason? It'd be like if there was a doctoress.
or a nurseress.
Like,
Well, I don't know. I guess what would be the male version of a nurse? Because nurse is a predominantly
nurse, but
female.
like Nurchad or Nurseman. Nurseman.
Nurchad.
How did I hit
Anyways.
Nurchad before Nurseman? Fireman, policeman, nurseman. Just makes sense.
Um,
We waste so many letters.
I also have a small tangent. The musical, The Music Man. It contains a song called Shapoopy. And as I've been mentioning, the song is in the musical because that character didn't have very many songs and didn't have that many lines, but they wanted to keep the actor in the play happy.
Amazing.
But the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, one of the worst songs in the movie was the Cheer Up Charlie, because his mom just stops to sing like this 5-minute song about how Charlie should cheer up, and she's like, Charlie's not even there. She's just sitting there wistfully. Well, he did, but not because of the song.
I don't know, like, you're ignoring the transitive property where the songs will vibrate the frequency of the universe and through string theory cause effects.
Well, but so it's like people, as far as my understanding is that people hated that song because it just killed the momentum of the movie. It was sung by a side character that had no impact on the plot whatsoever. In fact, she wasn't even in the movie after her song, pretty much. And so it's like when you're writing a musical, and this is probably even harder for TV, it's really important to try and make sure that the song actually carries the themes and the plot forward, you know?
Man, could you imagine me and you wrote a musical? I'm literally trained how to do that for half of it.
In any event, Wonka was, I don't know, maybe I've gone soft or something, but I've seen a lot of movies lately that is like, wow, that was surprisingly heartfelt. I really.
So, I mean, yeah, you might be love, and love is therefore made you stupid. But counterpoint. So, it's not Marvel. So the thing is, I found myself like in a new like renaissance of appreciating things. And it's like my standards got like hit the ground and now are rebuilding themselves. So it's like, oh man, I'm watching some awesome shows. Like The Foundation was really good. For All Mankind was really good. The Halo adaptation is actually kind of decent. The Fallout adaptation looks pretty good. I really like Netflix One Piece. It might just be that like I error screened. Like I absorbed so much terrible media that I broke it, and now I've refreshed.
Yeah, maybe. Like that could be it.
But on that note, you know what had no bad songs? Even though they did have a song about a side character for exactly 30 seconds?
Okay.
Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Oh, I do love Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. But that's like the epitome of moving the themes and plot forward through song.
It's just really good. Like, it's hard to argue that Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog's not just like a solid musical. Bad horse, the thoroughbred is in.
But anyways, so basically what's new with me is well, I mean, I watch a lot of movies because that's one of the things that me and my girlfriend like to do. Like we watched Ricky Stenicki, which does have some musical covers that are highly inappropriate. And again, like I said, maybe you're right that my standards have lowered. But again, I thought that movie was both funny and surprisingly
heartfelt. My standards have lowered. Your standards are fine. No, I want to be clear. My standards didn't lower; they reset. So it's like I've started going far enough outside my normal comfort zone that it's like I don't have as many instant comparisons. Like, for example, in one of my writing workshops last week, a person told me their story they wrote was inspired by Inuyasha and The Witcher.
Okay.
So when I was writing a feedback letter, I'm like, I gave really, really specific suggestions because I'm like, oh man, you want me to analyze your work like it was Inuyasha? I have thoughts. So he's like, okay. Yeah, he had the love story between a samurai and a Viking who teamed up to fight fairies.
Okay.
That's just awesome. Like 10 out of 10, nailed it. And it's like, I gave a full TED talk about world building and how by using too many, it's like you could either make it historically authentic and it'd be stronger, or you make it completely fictional, but you're in like a gray area.
Mm.
And that's the thing is, that's like my dedicated specialty is if someone wants me to help me edit their anime light novel, oh man, am I qualified. But my musical knowledge isn't nearly as fleshed out, which is why I get to be like, ooh, Repo the Genetic Opera, this was awesome, and I had no idea what to expect, where I can accurately predict probably the next 10 JJK chapters just based on anime tropes alone.
So, I mean, yeah, what's new with me, I've been watching a lot of movies, and there's been very few duds in the past while.
Nice.
Which, again, maybe is because I've been getting out of the Marvel / Disney hellhole.
The Disney bubble. Actually, let's call it the Disney bog.
It's so hard to escape because Disney owns so many companies.
Well, it's like me and Panda today watched their X-Men 93 sequel cartoon they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the weirdest problem.
What's that?
It looks worse.
It looks worse?
So what happened was they had to draw the original cartoon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which led it to being inconsistent, but had like a tactile feel to it. This new one, as far as I can tell, are using CG models positioned to look 2D, like almost like a deep fake.
Okay.
And all of the characters just look worse. Like, artistically, it just looks off. Like, they didn't commit hard enough to the format. So it's like they have, like, bloom lighting paired with pseudo hand-drawn cells, and it just looks wrong. Or like the line artwork on it's like too crisp compared to the show we just watched. And like 3 characters' voices are just off. And it's like, also this is such a petty rant, but I'm so mad about this. So they're like, because all streaming shows no longer have to be 22 minutes or 44 minutes, they're like, the episodes are as long as they need to be. I emphatically believe that leads to worse writing. Because if you can just have an extra few minutes, you don't have to only put in the 22 best minutes of footage.
Right.
So I find that a lot of these longer episodes for shows don't actually improve it in any way. Because it's like, oh, I'll just keep the scene, is probably why more shows just seem to have like pointless scenes in them, because you can just keep the scene. But when you're specifically making a deep fake sequel to a 97 cartoon, why would you not make it 22 minutes? I'm so mad about this, like unreasonably so. You had one job. We're going to do a direct sequel to this cartoon. So we're going to use CG, and we're not going to make it 22 minutes, and we're not going to air it on Sundays. Come on, you had one job to do.
So, besides watching an infuriating, inferior sequel, what else is new in the Richard verse?
Let's see. Well, like I said, a lot of schoolwork stuff because of where I'm at in the semester. Non-schoolwork stuff is... Can't tell that story. Let me find one I can tell. So, we had our monthly, our bi-weekly D&D last weekend.
Okay.
And I love this D&D group, partly because they're all in their 30s and, like, one of them just has a supply of quality cheeses. They're like, I went to Costco and stocked up quality cheeses specifically. So first off, charcuterie boards with quality cheeses is just a win. But I did my most unhinged D&D combat encounter of all time.
Okay, before you get into that, I just got to make a quick comment about charcuterie boards.
I'm listening. Yes, they're just a fancy name for cheese and crackers, which is delicious.
Well, I mean, cheese, crackers, and meats. There's often meats on those boards. Or maybe that's a different kind of board.
No, you're right.
I don't know. But okay, so I had a driver coworker buddy, and he's all like, "Oh yeah, you know, I really want to like open a pizza store. So you know, we should go to the James Hotel and have a business meeting about what we would need to do to open a pizza store."
And you're like, "This is literally my specialty."
Oh yeah, this is several years ago, but I'm like, okay, yeah, that'd be cool. So we go to the James Hotel, and in the James Hotel for Saskatoon, I guess I should say Saskatchewan. Now I've given out too much information. Uh-oh.
I mean, You've literally, like,
I mean,
you've given enough details. Like I said, if someone finds you and shows you the Karl tattoo, that is their prize. We can't make it too easy for them, but the information is there.
but so we go to the James Hotel, which is swanky
Is
for
that the one with, like, the
Saskatoon.
hexagon walls? Am I thinking a different one?
It might be. I don't remember many details about the hotel itself because, firstly, we were just in the lounge, and secondly, the charcuterie board was distracting because it had the worst cheese I have ever eaten. I have no idea what kind of cheese it was, but it was absolutely horrendously awful. I took a bite, I made a funny face, and then I offered it to everyone else at the table, and they all had the same reaction. They're like, "This cheese is terrible."
I did not have that problem, I assure you.
Anyway, like everything else on the board was great. There were some good cheeses, there were some good meats, there were some good crackers, but like the one cheese was just like, what the heck? Why did they put this garbage on this board?
To get rid of it, clearly.
It did taste like maybe it was blue cheese. Like maybe I've just never had blue cheese before, and I just didn't realize how bad it is.
In my life, because like when I worked in a redacted kitchen, somehow blue cheese crust was a steak topping.
Huh. Anyways, you were going on about your unhinged D&D encounter.
Yes,
with,
yes. So, I normally, as you're aware, only really run 1 or 2 D&D fights at maximum, Ali Matt Mercer style.
Yeah,
but what happened was, one of the players decided they had to get an ingredient to cook us all dinner.
Mm.
So, yeah, of course they can leave to get food to feed us. I'm not an idiot, like, yeah. So, we're sitting around, and what happened was the party had used Speak with Animals to convince a bunch of sky snakes to go kill a goblin camp they skipped. So, for context, the party's going down the river in this lovely river boat they bought, right? And I'm rolling random encounters, but I'm showing them the table because I think it's funny.
Okay.
It's like I do a weird metagaming recently for D&D where I'll be like, here's the table. 40 is the T-Rex. I am showing this to you so when you roll a 40 and I laugh in your face, you'll know I didn't cheat.
Yeah, okay.
So I've been running this campaign by the book. So they got attacked by sky snakes.
Okay.
Which, the book shows them a little differently, but picture Mario's, like, wing cap. Like those little, like, you know, like the Arali wings?
Yeah, yeah.
Picture those on the side of the heads of a snake.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're instantly an endearing creature.
That's true.
So while they're going down the raft, they had noticed that earlier in the day, there were some, like, goblins hidden on a camp, and it was on the other side of the river, and they just kind of kept sailing. Like, oh, just go that way, there's some goblins to kill. So, while the player was away, it's like, want to roll to see what happens to the snakes, and they're like, yeah, I guess, but I want to know how it plays. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do something I've never done before. You each get 2 snakes. We're going to roleplay the snakes attacking this goblin while they're away. So I roll a full combat encounter where each player got 2 flying snakes. And this dungeon I had prepared that they just sailed on by and I never got to use. They instead got to be snakes just trying to eat goblins. So it's probably like a 45-minute battle that I roleplayed every step of them. I'm sneaking up and biting people with these snakes. And like, the snakes themselves shouldn't have won. 10 flying snakes against like 12 goblins in like a heavily fortified base. But the players are like sneaking up on them, luring them into traps. Like, it was beautiful. And that's a big new thing with me is I've never ran a fight before where everyone just took control of a snake to see how it played out off screen. Because it was completely irrelevant to the rest of the story unless they go back to that camp later and find some snakes living there. And I think
I do feel like it's a boomerang moment for sure.
Like, this will have payoff. And I'm like, the longer I run this campaign, the better the snake joke will be.
Yeah, because they're going to run into some snakes that are like wizards and sorcerers now.
But another thing that was just so bizarre. So, part of my, like, accommodation setting, as it were, is I pay, like, the phone bill, and my roommate just buys groceries because I'll cook and eat whatever. And he has allergies and I don't.
Right.
So he's like, I bought a box of vegetables. They have a thing where they buy a box of vegetables. So here's your 20 carrots. You better eat all of these.
Yeah, okay.
Have you ever had someone just give you a bag of actual carrots and be like, eat all these carrots? Like, how do you react to that?
Well, I mean, I would react by being like, oh yeah, I'm going to make like a stew or or maybe a casserole, or
No.
maybe shred them up into a lasagna, or like.
No. I've just been eating carrots Bugs Bunny style all week. So like I've eaten like more raw carrots this week than I have in like the rest, like the prior 5 years, because I'm the only person who can eat them, and I just have this bag of carrots. Because they're poisonous to him, right? So if I put him in a lasagna, or like if I make dinner for just myself out of this carrot, right?
I mean, I guess that's fair. I hadn't thought about the fact that you might accidentally kill him.
So it's just the funniest thing, because he basically handed Superman a bag of. Superman handed Batman some kryptonite and be like, do something fun with this. So like, yeah, it was just the weirdest moment. Like I bought vegetables, eat some, and I'm like, what prompted this? Why? Like, I'm missing a cause. I see the effect, but I cannot map a cause back to this. So yeah, I've been eating carrots, playing Game Boy Advance Fire Emblems, and running Snake Combat. All in all, a very solid week.
Nice.
Also did a bunch
Game
of
Boy
reading.
Advance Fire Emblems, are those on the Switch, or are they on an emulator that you're
They have
totally
the
legally
first
playing?
GBA Fire Emblem on Switch. So I beat this Unicorn Overlord game, which is Fire Emblem-esque, and I'm like, I'm gonna play Fire Emblem. Never play a GBA Fire Emblem without save states or rewinding, I warn you now. I do not know how child me beat this game, because adult me is like, and mulligan again, and no matter what I do, Clyde is still dead. Crap.
Fire Emblem was ruthless.
It was great.
Well, especially old school Fire Emblems.
Right? Like, they're ruthless, but that made them engaging, because it's like, my 2 Pegasus Knights just fell in love, and one will die, and I get to pick which one dies, or I recap half an hour of my life. How in love are they?
But speaking of Superman, with the whole kryptonite carrots.
Interesting pivot. I mean, to be fair. Also, just make sure you're picturing me eating them Bugs Bunny style. That's important. Kind of like a cigar I'm just holding at all times, nibbling on.
The topic that I had suggested was the ridiculously overpowered hero that is unconcerned with the plot.
Wait, that's what we're doing this week? I thought we were doing musicals. We're at the 27 mark, and we've talked about musicals for most of it, but let's do it. Overpowered heroes, let's go.
Well, no, I mean, like, I thought I pitched both ideas to you, and then you're like, I'd like the second idea more, and then you forgot about the second idea and started talking about musicals because, well,
you were also talking about musicals, but yes, we're doing this pivot at the 27-minute mark because I have thoughts on this topic. All right, so I'm going to start with the obvious.
The first thing we gotta get out of the way, though, you can't include characters that are the plot, like Satoru Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen, or Superman in all the media that Superman is in, because Superman is the plot, and he is very concerned with the plot.
So, counterpoint. So Superman in some contexts counts and in others doesn't. So Justice League Superman doesn't really count. Super inconsistent, part of a team player. He's just another character of a higher power level. But there's a movie called Superman All-Star, which is literally him just doing impressive Superman things before he dies of cancer.
Yeah.
And the entire movie's like, he just like solved world hunger and then cured Lex Luthor's being a jerk energy and like moved the Earth into space. So like there is times where like there is specific Superman stories where Superman's broken, but that's not the point. But like the more like edgy DC ones where Superman's actually punching people, he's not overpowered. I know it's a weird distinction, but Superman, overpowered Superman doesn't count for the trope if he's not overpowered.
I suppose.
But moving on to the trope, we're going to go with the trope setter for at least our context, Saitama. Would you agree that Saitama fits the topic of this conversation?
I mean, Saitama is kind of the baseline for this type of character, in my opinion. And I know he's not the original, but he is the one who really popularized the trope.
I agree. So for the uninitiated, I'm pretty sure we've done a One Punch Man episode somewhere. If not, we should do another one soon.
Yeah.
Because, we've been podcasting for like 4 years, so it's advanced one plot arc. It is the slowest moving manga of all time, and the part that pisses me off the most is it's good. If it was bad, I could just not care, but no, it has to be good once in a while. Stupid One Punch Man.
Well, I mean, that one's... See, Saitama is very much so the epitome of this, but at the same time, he's not exactly the best example, or not exactly the most well-written example, because the story's not actually about him.
Well, it's interesting, because, like, in the original comic, he's a great example. Mm-hmm. But then they paired the One Punch Man writer with some super talented artist, and weird alchemy happened that added depth to it.
Mm.
So it's like, Gag Saitama exists. That version of the story exists.
Right.
Because he didn't give the meteorite speech in that version of the story.
Right.
But then the manga version decided to just be functionally good for some reason. But yeah, those are uninitiated. Saitama's a hero for fun. He did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10k run, turned off his air conditioner, and became so incredibly busted that everything he does is now boring.
Right.
And the quick summary of One Punch Man is that he's just it's a depressed man trying to find joy in something he thought he'd be happy, like anyone with a bachelor's degree looking for a job.
Right.
And then it has, like, we were talking, some interesting meta levels about how the point is he's trying to do this for fun, and the fact he's busted doesn't actually really matter to the story. Like, it both does
and then also more so that he doesn't care about the story. He's there, he's engaging with it, he's influencing the things that are going on, but at the end of the day, it's like the House of Evolution arc ends with him being like, oh crap, I forgot there was a sale at the grocery store.
Like, he follows Vegeta's principle to a T of never fight a gag character, you will lose. I like how that's a canon Vegeta rule. It's true. So...
Okay, so... Go ahead.
I've seen a really good example of this trope kind of recently. So I've told you, like, off-stream that I've really enjoyed Frieren After Journey's End about the elf who helps the party of adventurers defeat the Demon King, who's now slowly exploring the continent, trying to, like, emotionally reconnect with the people who have passed away. So it's a deep, moving story that just passed Full Metal Alchemist on Anime's News Network's best anime list.
Yeah, makes sense.
It'll eventually fall back down, like all things do. But at the moment, it's the #1 anime. So the main character is actually extremely busted, but it doesn't actually matter. So you learn that the main character's like, oh yeah, the older you are as a mage, the more mana you have. And this is a 1,000-year-old elf who's been pulling a scam of hiding their power level the entire series, so that way demons who, like, judge each other based on power level underestimate them, and she just cheap shots them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing a tuning exam, like you do in the series, to get a mage license. And the final boss in this dungeon is they made a bunch of, like, stone doppelgangers of all the exam participants.
Right.
The final boss is supposed to be a duplicate of the proctor for the exam. But instead it's Frieren, and the entire group's like, what do we do? So, like, the strategy becomes Frieren and their apprentice being like, if we 2-on-1 me, maybe I can defeat me.
Right.
And it's like, this character collects spells for fun, but the few times you see them actually be busted is just hilarious. So, in phase 2 of this tuning exam, because it was a tuning exam, let's be real.
Yeah,
They got put in random squads of 3. So instead of Frieren having her normal apprentice, she has these twins that are young mages. One's a water wielder, one's a wind wielder. They hate each other, but they're BFFs. You know that.
Okay, just to correct you for one moment, that was actually phase 1. Phase 2 was the Dungeon Explorer, where the
I'm
final
so happy
boss was
you read
Frieren.
it. Ah, good.
Anyways,
Good job. I'm proud of you.
Phase 1, she gets
welcome back to first
she gets
place.
paired with these. Gets paired with the Water and Ice Mage.
So what I loved about this was the moment where, for the specific purpose of letting the Water Mage win the fight, they just blew up the training arena completely. I just love it's like there's this. It's like, yeah, you have to do this. You're in this barrier, and you have to do this contest in it. It's like, it'd be really funny right now if I broke the barrier so the Water Mage had access to rain. And it's like, they're doing an exam, and at any point they could just flip the table over and pass the exam whenever they pleased. But they were having fun. So it's like they meet the trope, but they don't, because most problems in the show, if they seriously tried, they could, but then it stopped being a learning moment for their disciple. And also they'd have to try and they're big sleepy. So I think Frieren probably does it, like, the best that I've seen. I mean, there's implications that they're not the most busted character, but they're definitely in, like, S tier. Like, they're a level 20 D&D character.
Well, yeah, like, the main thing to me is that by and large, like, they're going around, they're doing plot-related things, and like, the plot is happening to them, but they never really, like, show any level of concern, or it's like, the other characters are like, yeah, isn't that, like, this super powerful dude? And then it's like, yeah, it's cool. I got a plan.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's the bit in Frieren where it's like, I got knocked asleep by the monster. If you can wake me up for 5 seconds, just do it and I'll win the fight. Although, one of the biggest flexes of all time is still when the villain's like, my magic powers, if I have more power than you, you have to follow my orders, and then they just Lelouch them.
Yeah. That was pretty. That was like the reveal that she's been secretly hiding her power level to fight.
But what's
demons.
like such good writing is you see her teaching her apprentice that like forever ago. It's like, yeah, no, it wasn't an ass pull. It's like, yeah, no, that just makes perfect sense that the person who literally defeated Satan had a higher power level than they were letting on. Specifically to sucker punch this jerk. Although they got me with a misdirect. They're like, demons are just monsters. And I'm like, ooh, here comes the dramatic twist. Nope, they're just monsters, and she is killing them. And they're dead.
I mean, I think they kind of foreshadowed the El Dorado plot arc, because the Mocked or whatever is trying to learn what it means to feel guilt or malice, because demons just don't understand those concepts.
It's like, they talk specifically to kill people. I'm like, you did a thing any DM would kill for. You made an objectively evil character with no consequence. Perfect. 10 out of 10.
They are pretty objectively evil. But okay, so Frieren is one of the best examples for sure. Would you say that Reiner Lute qualifies?
He does an asterisk. So Reiner Lute is a weird twist of it. And because I've read 7 more novels after the series ends, I can give a more nuanced take, but I am not explaining all the translated volumes of Legend of the Legendary Heroes. The animated series was literally just the prologue before the books start.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the thing is, Reiner wasn't broken, and his apathy wasn't because, oh, I'm so powerful I don't care. He literally just had PTSD and figured if he was unconscious, his life would be less shitty. It was objectively sad. So it's like, it was like, he incidentally was OP, but really didn't want to be? So it was interesting.
Well, I mean, so that's the apathetic hero. That's not exactly the right way to describe the trope. Like, that's a perfect description of Saitama, but I don't know if there's any other examples that are apathetic like Saitama.
I think the closest is probably Mashle.
Mash.
You know,
so ridiculous. I mean, I was going to say Mob from Mob Psycho 100.
You know what's another good one that fits that vibe, though? Have you done Psyche K?
No.
So, it's an older manga. I'd say it's the prequel. It predates Saitama.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to get the names right, because it's been a while since I thought about it. But Psyche K, there we go. So, you've probably seen this character in Shonen Jump's games, has pink hair, little antenna things, has a green shirt. So he's such a powerful psychic, but he just wants to be normal. They brainwash the entire world into thinking pink hair's normal.
Okay.
So that's like to put like a bit of the pretense on it is, he definitely has like the apathetic busted character syndrome going on, whose objective is just to be normal, but it's just so crazy powerful.
But so like I really Mob Psycho personally is it's by the same artist, the same author as
The same creature,
One
let's
Punch
be
Man.
honest.
I mean, back when you first watched Mob Psycho, you were like, "Oh, he's too similar to Saitama," but I was actually surprised by the amount of nuance that you could put into a character.
It was sequencing. I freely admit, my problem with Mob Psycho is I watched it immediately after One Punch Man.
Yeah.
If I were to like revisit it
because-
later, it'd probably be a pretty different energy.
Well, because like the reason he's apathetic is because he's scared of his power and he doesn't want it to let loose and hurt someone. And then it's like he's never actually in any real danger, and he doesn't really care about what's going on with the plot. He just is trying his hardest not to kill people.
And like that one's like a little further from the trope, but still there. I'm trying to think.
You think that's a little further from the trope? Because I mean,
A little bit, but not much, right? Like it's a similar wavelength for sure.
okay. So the
You know, the worst though, when series are like, "I'm reborn in another world and am busted."
well, that is a whole nother trope.
Like that'll be a fun
sub-trope?
episode when we can force ourselves to endure enough of it to have thoughts on it.
Okay, the daily life of the immortal king.
It's so good. It's so funny.
Does he fit the trope?
He is. Not only is he emblematic of that trope to the most ultimate degree, but he's also canonically the most busted anime character. Full stop.
The most busted anime character, full stop.
Full stop. He can reboot a multiverse to get out of skipping school. He has left his show to punch the animator. He is shot like
Yeah, okay.
like he fired an arrow around the planet to hit the target and just could not care. And he's like just trying to be low key about it and failing spectacularly, and it's amazing. For a long time, he just gaslights the show's Hercule into thinking he's saving the day.
That's funny.
So
Yeah,
no,
it's on my
absolutely
to-watch
could not
list.
be a like. It does it better than One Punch Man, honestly, because it's more willing to
Yeah?
just play with random tropes. Like, there's an episode where they just straight up Pokemon battle for no reason. There's an episode where he collects the 7 Dragon Balls to wish for a better Yu-Gi-Oh card to win a tournament.
Oh, that does offer up some Mad Gintama energy there. Like,
A little bit. So, on the topic though, here's a weird one. Sensei from Assassination Classroom.
I think he doesn't fall into the category because he is the plot.
But it's interesting, right? Like, he has a lot of the same vibes and energy.
He does. But I mean, he's not quite as bad as Gojo for just being incredibly overpowered, but being the plot. But like a standalone series where he's not trying to teach assassins, like if he was actually just going out doing his own thing, I think the
Also,
writing would be a lot different.
I have to
that
pause
way,
and call
you know?
out Gojo. Can we all admit that Gojo's just, I'm going to make Kakashi but cooler? And just failed to, because the thing that made Kakashi cool was he was limited. It's like, oh, well, Kakashi has a Sharingan, he has infinite, lintless super eyes. And Kakashi can, like, compress people, so he can, like, create black holes and hit you with infinity times infinity to make super infinity. I'm like, shut up.
Why can't Sakuna just lose?
You know, I'm kind of committed at this point to the Sakuna. Like, so the calling game was dumb. I ranted about this before class with a classmate the other day. Because they set up all these terms and conditions for worlds we don't really understand. They tried to Greed Island for no reason. If the season was literally just the Sakuna Gauntlet, which is pretty much is, it's actually a better season of just everyone one at a time trying to kill the big boss. Because it's basically like Frieza vibes, right? I don't hate each character desperately trying to kill an overpowered baddie, throwing everything they have at it and getting their ass kicked. Like, I don't mind the Sakuna Gauntlet or the Frieza Gauntlet if that's what you're doing deliberately. But what the hell was the point of everything else that's happened this season if it's just going to be a series of 1v1 fights against Sakuna? Why did I learn all these words? Why did I learn what Tengen was?
Well, because they're still in the culling game.
But who
and
cares?
They installed...
Sukuna will just destroy the world. So, like...
No. So Sukuna actually is on board with Geto's plan. Sukuna put a rule in the culling game to allow himself to activate the merger of Tengen with Japan.
Yeah, but it's stakes on stakes that don't matter. So, here's what I mean.
That's true.
If you put a win condition in a story, but the character who wins now can't be stopped because they're an invincible killing machine, you didn't really need the win condition. It's like when Frieza blew up Namek. Technically, you really didn't need the ticking clock, because if Frieza killed Goku, you didn't do anything about Frieza anyway. There's a few shows that do that.
Yeah, okay.
That stakes overkill, which drives me nuts, where it's like, JoJo's Season 1 was the best for that, where all the villains would use devices to take away his ability to breathe. Like, yeah, we're both have neck bracers on or we're underwater, and it's like, but he already can't breathe. That's the win condition. Yeah, it took away his superpower and his life. Like, if Sukuna just kills every named character, why do we care if there's a merger?
Well, he's not going to kill every named character. I don't know how Itadori is going to win aside from bad writing.
And I still kind of want Nobara to have lived through it all, have the last Suka figure, just hammer a nail in it and do the resonance thing and sucker punch him. But that's what I would write, so... And I'm at, like, Kubo's level, which is a level above JJK, straight up. What? It's just off-brand bleach. It's kind of like Dr. Pibb. So, I would say JJK, we should get back on topic, but... No, it's a good contrast, so I'm going to ask you this question. Why is Gojo less interesting to you than Saitama?
That is a very, very good question. Well, it's probably partly because he's busted and he knows it. And like I just don't really understand. Like, he's the most broken wizard, the most broken sorcerer ever.
I'm fine with wizard.
And he
Let's
knows
just throw
he's
shade.
the most...
Let's just call them wizards now. Take that, sorcery fight.
So he is the most powerful wizard ever born, and he knows it, and yet, like, I don't really understand why he can't just solve all the show's problems. And I don't really understand why he doesn't. Like, I understand why Saitama doesn't. It's because Saitama doesn't even realize there's a problem because all those problems are so far beneath him.
So, to loop back to Frieren, which does the Gojo character so much better, Frieren doesn't solve all Fern's problems because she's training... Well, she got gaslit into adopting a child.
Right.
So, for Frieren, it makes perfect sense. Frieren's just here fucking about. Like, there's a scene where it's like, how did you get out of the mimic chests before you had a friend? It's like, oh, I would just blow up, but then my hair would get messed up. And like, wait, every time I see him with messed up hair, it's because he got stuck in a mimic? It's like, yes. So Frieren's out here Frierening, and the other character's like, no, please don't say you'll be back in a little bit, because that could be 5 years. Come on, please. But the stakes are different, right? Like, Frieren would always step in so no one dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Frieren wants Fern to think they're in danger so they can learn and be trained, but doesn't want them to be in actual danger.
Mm-hmm.
But Gojo was just too busted by a couple degrees. Because if he was really strong but was just getting the training experience for his pupils, that's fine. But, like, there's just parts that's like, you've made him too busted for this to actually narratively function. Bleach had a similar problem when they gave the Quincy King powers that really couldn't be explained anymore.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, he's just God. It's like, cool, show over?
Well, okay, actually, that's an interesting side note. Not this has nothing to do with the topic at hand, but
it could. I believe in us.
The power almighty is apparently a sight-based power. So anything he can see, anything that he's aware of, it's like, yeah, he can see what timeline and merge timelines and cause things to happen. But then when Uryu was off screen and he fires that arrow, it works.
Because he just straight up sniped him.
He just straight up sniped him. He was outside of his sight, and just like boom, just straight up sniped.
And then Eisen worked too
because he messed with his sight. He couldn't see what he was actually seeing.
Part of the problem with Bleach is rushed ending, and the anime adaptation's doing a really good job fleshing things out more. Is like the concepts were good, except the insert myself into your backstory problem not being a memory attack, it being a physical phenomenon. I could just write a paper on. Like that's going to be my master thesis. I'll be getting my master's degree in creative writing, and it'll ask me to write a thesis, and it'll be explaining the backstory sword and why it makes me so mad. Because he made such a choice. Instead of it messing with memories, it restoring a bond kind. I'm like, no, if it messed with memories, it wouldn't break the show. Because you're saying that in Bleach, time travel is just possible because this guy's sword does it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. It's weird because he only inserts himself into people's backstories that he's actually like stabbed, and so everyone else is like, "What are you talking about? That's not reality."
But also, like, they can kind of remember him being. It does like a weird quantum effect almost. Quite frankly, if I were to make a Bleach video game, I'd probably give the protagonist that power to explain why you are in the story of Bleach. Because it's like, oh yeah, I just stabbed Ichigo and now I'm in Bleach. But moving on from Bleach, which doesn't actually have this problem. Like, overpowered villains are very common in anime, but definitely didn't have the overpowered hero problem, because everyone was kind of neutral. Like, the Gotai 13 weren't good people. So it's like, wait, why didn't Captain Commander just solve the problem? It's like, because he didn't care.
It wasn't his problem.
Yeah, like, it's like they did that thing where the first season 2, you're like, oh man, all these Shiigami captains are dicks. And it's like, oh, I guess they're not dicks, because they're helping us kill Hollows. Nope, they're still dicks. You don't understand. It's just now they're personally involved in it. But like, to loop back to like,
they are.
Overpowered villains are always going to be less interesting to me than clever villains.
Right. Like,
Mr. Suitengu will win most villain awards because his power was like it was cool, but really his actual power was hoarding all the money in Japan and having America blow it up.
So man, Mr. Sweet, like, he didn't even need his superpowers except for the one where he cut the Diamond Lady.
And that's what made him more compelling than your Aizens and your Sukunas. Because like his plan was just solid. Weirdly enough, Naraku also kind of gets a pass for his plan was just to be a dick to make the souls in the magic gem sad.
Okay, but so we have Saitama.
Yep.
The Life of the Immortal King, Frieren, Mob Psycho, Saitama. No, I said Saitama already, didn't I?
Technically Zeno, but he's not a big enough character to matter. Like, Zeno meets all this criteria because he's literally God.
Well, but see, the point of the trope
is you have to be the main character.
This is why One Punch Man is sometimes infuriating, is that the story has to be about the overpowered character. And it's about the conflicts that you can make where
so the TV trope is called the comically invincible hero, and I found the list.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so they have Koro Sensei.
Okay.
Do you remember Beelzebub from the show, like the Beelzebub baby? It was like a manga where there's a delinquent, and then he had literal Beelzebub on his back as a baby.
No, I don't think I ever read that one. That sounds interesting.
Apparently Bobo counts. I don't know if you watch Bobo beat people to death with his giant nose hairs.
No, that's another one that I've just kind of passed on.
Psyche K, which I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Here's one. The first arc of Dragon Ball, Goku.
Yeah, fair.
Goku, up until the Red Ribbon Army Saga and Tao Pai Pai, met this trope completely.
Yeah, he really did not care about the plot. Okay.
Let's see.
What do we got next?
They say Alucard from Hellsing.
Kind
Kinda. Like, if you think about it, he was never actually in any danger at any point in that show, and was mostly just fucking about.
Yeah, that's true.
They had to kill him with Schrodinger's cat paradox.
And even that didn't actually kill him.
I've never seen Irresponsible Captain Tyler, but it's on the list.
Okay.
Saitama. And that's all they got from the anime list. Somehow they don't have Mashle on there. And I'm not surprised they don't have Frieren, because Frieren's pretty new. Kirby.
Yeah.
Kirby.
That's an interesting one.
That's a hot
take.
I feel like
Kirby is actually genuinely in danger. But like, not because he's necessarily
like lore accurate.
He's just not smart.
Because lore accurate Kirby would be, but video game accurate Kirby not so much. The Animaniacs.
Well, I mean, Kirby right back at you. The Kirby in that show,
I would give it to.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because I watched the
he threw a frying
translation.
pan at a monster and it went around the sun and back again perfectly cooked.
Yeah. That, I mean, he is comically invincible, but at the same time, he is actually in like legitimate danger a great number of times because he's just so dumb.
Fair. But yeah, next up on the list we have the Animaniacs themselves.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know if they really they do, but they venture too far into gag character territory, I think. Which is kind of funny talking about Saitama.
Right? Like another one is The Mask.
Yeah.
The Tick.
See, I don't know. The comically overpowered hero.
How about The Tick, though? That's an interesting one. I think that one's closer.
Well, yeah, because I think for what I'm thinking about as the trope, it needs to have a more continuous story. Like, you're actually following the adventures of this character rather than just hand-picking random scenes from their life.
That's fair. Let's see. And those are the big
ones. The Tick is definitely a lot closer because I feel like that had much more depth to the story than
like
Animaniacs.
They had Metro Man from Megamind listed as a deconstruction of the trope.
Yeah?
Because he fakes his own death because they assume he's immortal so he can retire.
Yeah?
The Pink Panther live action.
What?
On the surface, he's a bumbling incompetent, but if you try and hurt or kill him, then the would-be assassins will wind up killing each other or themselves.
Huh.
I don't know if I agree, but I thought that was worth mentioning because it was fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he meets the trope because he's not comically overpowered. He has the most organic plot armor ever.
So you know what's a character that kind of fits the mold, but not quite? Lucifer from Lucifer. Like, they put in plot reasons, like, oh, this one character depowers, yeah. But in the scenes where he's just walking around as a literal devil, and then muggers come up to him, and he's like, hello, muggers, how are you today? I'm bulletproof. Like, there's definitely bits where he does it, where he is that trope. But it's not being a police procedural.
A police procedural. Yeah, that's true.
Which is just funny to me, by the way, that someone pitched a police procedural with a cop and the partner being the literal devil from the Bible, and it got greenlit.
Well, okay, so what about the devil works at McDonald's? Is that what, or is it Lucifer works at McDonald's?
Was that what? It would be in slightly different circumstances. If he had his full power, but still chose to work at McDonald's, I'd count it.
Yeah, because he doesn't have his full power. He's trying to find his magical power.
Right? Like, when he was like, gives his scheme, he's like, wait a minute, the secret to world conquest is to be the best at McDonald's? If he still had his, like, full set of abilities, but had decided this was his path, A, the show would be better. And B, it would hit the trope. Like, that'd make it so much better if you could just be Satan at any point. But it's like, you know what? No. It's just easier to conquer the world by climbing up the corporate ladder in fast food.
Well, I mean, McDonald's is another one of those corporations that owns a surprising amount of everything.
Mm-hmm. They want to say Deadpool, but I don't think I agree. Squirrel Girl, they say, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't remember specific feats, but she definitely, just makes no sense. I believe one of her feats was actually beating up Thanos.
Yes. So, what they say on the trope site, and we kind of talked about this about Superman earlier, Silver Age and Bronze Age comics, he's like that. So, like, Superman when he was firing tiny Supermen out of his fingertips, that Superman hits the trope. Because his problems were always, like, his work-life balance was his actual problems in those days.
Right, that makes sense.
And then Hayate from Hayate the Combat Butler is what I missed.
Ooh.
Which has almost no combat in it, ironically.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's ridiculously overpowered for the situation, and it's just never in real danger and doesn't really care about the plot, but then...
Because there's, like, that whole, like, secret coffin thing that they just never actually... Like, they explained it, but they never cared. It's like, yeah, I wrote this awesome lore for pendants and things. It's like, yeah, I remember that was in there, yes.
Hayate, the Combat Butler. That was a funny show.
Indeed. But with that... actually, I do have to point to part where Santa Claus in that just looks a kid in the eyes like you didn't get any presents because your parents are poor. But with that, we're going to move into today's random questions from viewers and listeners across the interwebs. And anyone lurking in chat right now can go ahead and post a question. But for that, do you have any closing thoughts as I look up our list?
No. I just have a random question for you.
Oh, snap.
Okay. If you have a grid-based map.
Yes.
And going north will bring you to the bottom of the map if you go far enough north. And so it's basically just a globe.
That's not how that would work.
What do you mean?
So, if you go all the way west on a grid, it would bring you back east.
Right.
If you go all the way north, it would bring you back north.
Well, I mean, it would bring you back to the south side of the map.
No, it wouldn't.
You go all the way north, you hit the north edge, and then you get warped to the south edge.
Yes, but I'm saying if you wanted to make an actual, like, Earth map with wraparound, ironically, if you go to the very north part, you would just come back down on the other square on the north part.
Well, in any event, the theory is that it's like you're on an orb, a sphere, but you're not, because it's
Topography
2D.
gets confusing on this one. I spent way too much time trying to figure out how a wraparound mod for Pokemon would work, and it turned out that just putting hard barriers at the north and south was actually the most physically accurate. But having east and west wraparound.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, topography aside, how big do you think a world map of this nature should be? How many tiles by how many tiles?
Depends on the scale of what you're using the map for. So are we going D&D scale? Are we going city scale? Like, give me a sense of scale here. Like, what goes in one square on this map? Is it a person? Is it a Gundam?
Well, I mean, you may recall quite some time ago, we started messing with Unity, and I had this, my dad called it Delta 3.
Yeah.
And I had an epiphany that it's just like, you know what? I don't know why I was so resistant to the easy method. I should just use the easy method, which is to create a set canvas size, and when you get to one edge, it basically wraps your view around to see the other edge.
Okay. So, to answer your question, best of my ability. So the number of squares displayed for a game is based on not only like the resolution of the screen, but typically you'll use 1-inch squares, right? For anything like D&D and things, will typically use 1-inch squares if you want like a nice solid picture of something. Or like a physical mini. You don't really want to go less than half that size, like a 1/2-inch square is a solid square.
Okay.
So then it comes to like almost resolution, where if you're putting it for like, if you're expecting there to be information on the sides and below and above it, about like 9x9 or 10x10 or 12x12 would be of 1-inch squares would be a small map.
Yeah, I was going to say that would
kind
be
of like make it an actual square number, ironically. So like 64 squares is probably what I would do.
64 squares, yeah. Well, okay, I'm not going to get into the math, but I'm like, well, how many vertices are there in 64 squares?
Because you're either going 64, 81, 100, or 121.
I'm not understanding where you're pulling these numbers from.
Literally just square numbers. You're going to want a divisible number, so you can like go number across, number down, so you can go by. It just typically would work better if you made it literally square numbers. So like a 10x10 grid or an 11x11 grid is probably your cleanest way to do it, based on if you want those 1-inch squares to actually fit across your screen.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Anyway, did you find any actual random questions?
I did. I was just invested in this conversation.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Oh no, I think I've used this one before. No! 1 second, that was last week's list. Okay. I don't know if I asked this one last week, but if you could have an extra hour of free time each day, what would you use it for? Like literally just a secret ghost hour between midnight and 1. Or wherever you'd want to put your extra hour.
A secret ghost hour of time each
So you just get an extra hour, and let's assume everyone's like zoned out, like you just have like a disconnected extra hour.
Well, I mean, I feel like I would mostly waste that hour, but there are a ton of things that it's like, I should make more time to learn how to juggle. I should make more time to learn how to become a champion darts player. I should take more time to sort my magic cards. I really, really enjoy building magic decks. I should take more time to actually, build projects that I have in mind, or, like I could use that hour for so many things. I don't think I would want to relegate it for a singular task. Like I could use that time to read more classic novels. Like I've only read one of my 5 James Bond books, and I still haven't read. I have the Eldritch Horrors. What's his name? H.P. Lovecraft.
Okay, he was this horrifying.
I have an anthology of H.P.
book.
Lovecraft.
Fair enough.
So it's like, if I had an extra hour, what would I do with it? It's like, if this is just like a recurring free hour, I mean, there's so much and so many things to do that if I just had that extra hour of free time specifically to do whatever the heck I wanted.
That's fair. My answer's much more
What would
boring.
you do with your extra hour?
So, especially if the extra hour does something magical, like the entire world goes sepia toned or something, so I know it's that hour. I turn on the most dangerous writing app for an hour and use it then. Because I'm like, I'm in like this magic extra hour. Yeah, I'm gonna use this for writing every time. And if I don't have electricity in the extra hour, I'll be reading.
Oh man, I was actually thinking about this the other day. So in The Boys.
Oh, I hate The Boys, but also I'm very informed on it. Please continue.
No, this isn't going to be the only example of it, but like the Flash, he has an excuse for why people don't just die when he moves them.
Mm-hmm. Magic.
Homelander does not. Near the end of season 1, Butcher blows up a bomb at point blank range, and Homelander is fast enough to both grab Butcher and escape the explosion. And so it's like the only way that would make sense is if you could, if things that you're physically touching weren't affected by inertia, or whatever, the forces that cause things to explode when moved too quickly, with when accelerated too quickly. That's the key. But so then, going on the logic that anything you're touching can be moved at super speed with you, if you were to try and use a cell phone in some sort of temporal displacement, right? Sure, you wouldn't be able to make phone calls because that just wouldn't work. But you're playing games on your phone, and then when you snap back to real time, your phone would be so toasted because all of that heat was like run through that phone in such a short period of time.
So I had a very similar monologue about characters who stop time. So most fictional characters aren't actually stopping time, they're slowing it down. Because if you actually stop time, 3 things that would happen that would make your time stop power so bad that actually make it fair to use. Thing the first, if you actually stop time, you couldn't see.
Right.
Light's not hitting you anything to hit your eyes. You just couldn't see at all. Second, your body...
Or would you be able to see, but only while you're moving?
No, because even if you walked into the photons, the fact that they hit an object and come back to you is how the sight works. The photon doesn't have the image information if it's slowed.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so you can't see. You probably can't actually move.
Well, let's say you could move. What's really interesting, though, is because the air around you is not currenting, your body's not throwing off its heat.
Oh, right.
So you're overheating.
So you're going to ridiculously overheat.
Mm-hmm. So you can't see, you can't hear, and your body's comically overheating. So, if we can assume that you can move through solid air, even though if you stop time, air would technically be functioning like a solid, I think that'd be an interesting character of time stop. If they can stop time, but they go blind, none of their electronic devices work. They can't. If they throw or use a weapon, it stops moving, and they just generate comical amounts of heat every second, and they wouldn't be able to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the physical implications of stopping time, it would actually be a completely useless power, and I don't know how you would actually even write that character.
Because that character would be sweet if someone goes to punch you, and then they just have to, on muscle memory, quickly throw out a jab and then resume time. So it's they stop time, but they'd have to, pre-plan what they're stopping time to do. It's all right, gun being fired. I'm going to assume he has good aim. The moment I hear, I stop time and just go prone and resume. Because you could dodge a bullet, provided you time it right. And it's okay, how far can I jump in the 2 seconds before I burn up?
Man, that'd be super disorienting.
But it would make it so much more compelling. Man, my hero was so much better when people had bad quirks.
Yeah.
My hero is just not good. And on that note, we have one last random question.
Okay. I'm ready for it.
Lame. What is your favorite Disney movie? Not our viewers would ever give us a lame random question, but...
What is my favorite Disney movie?
Yep. It's just so funny, because, we didn't used to hate Disney this much.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's... So, my first thought was Robin Hood, because I just love the anthropomorphic animals playing Robin Hood.
I want to make a quip, and you know what the quip would be. I'm not going to make the quip, but now that you know I could have made the quip. I mean, to be fair, you can make the counter quip, because I was going to say The Lion King.
Is The Emperor's New Groove actually a Disney movie? I don't remember.
I don't know, but it's really good.
Because that would be a second pick. Or it might even be a first pick. I mean, because Robin Hood is classic, but The Emperor's New Groove is probably just a better story.
The Emperor's New Groove is definitely more rewatchable, and it is Disney. So, like, I'm going to tie with you on that one. Like, if we were to pick a Disney movie to watch together right now, we'd probably pick that one.
Yeah, probably. So many memorable characters and iconic moments.
It's what happens when your main character isn't a hero in any way, shape, or form. Hashtag Krunk did nothing wrong. And with that, thank you everybody for tuning in to Richard and Karl present Deep Space and Dragons. We might do a musical episode next time. We might not. It's impossible to tell.
It is impossible to tell.
But yeah, I don't know. Have a good day. Eat a carrot if you can.
Yeah, self-care and maintenance is important for your daily functioning health. So,
Yeah, they say carrots are good for
care of
eyesight. You know what
yourselves.
pairs with eyesight? The Minuet of Sorcery on sale on Amazon.com.
Well, I mean, I was gonna maybe go there, but carrot. It's a myth. Carrots aren't good for your eyesight, but you should still eat carrots, and you should still buy Richard's book because
I'm
he
going to
gets to eat more
counter that
carrots.
one. It's like, you can say carrots aren't good for your eyesight. But you know what's also not good for your eyesight? Doritos.
Wartime propaganda.
I'm just saying that carrots have more nutrients in them and are more likely to help stave off eye illnesses than eating Pizza Pops. So it's like,
I mean that's fair. I'm just saying that there's all the clinical evidence suggests that is literally just wartime propaganda.
Like, you know what's the bullshit about this whole
Germans
carrot
to learn
debate?
about their radar.
Like, I'm here eating carrots, wearing glasses with bad eyesight. You're here drinking Dr. Pepper like it's water. And I'm like, I really want to argue that the carrot's better for eyesight, but I just don't have the evidence to back that. Now do I?
Yeah, that's because all the evidence you're going to find is that that's a myth caused by wartime propaganda to hide the fact that they had radar when the Germans didn't.
Oh, man. That's just so funny. But, like, I was watching a news story, and there's an old lady who's hit like 103 or something. Like, I drink Dr. Pepper every day, and my doctor said it'd kill me, but it's good stuff, and I'm still alive. So, life's just a lottery. So you should buy my book.
Yeah, you might win the lottery with that book.
You might like
actually
it. Who knows? I don't.
Well, I mean, maybe it'll have a typo that'll make it worth a lot of money in like 5 years.
Maybe. I mean, let's be realistic. If someone's listening to this right now, which there are, we have viewers, and they immediately buy my book, you know what that book's turning into, right?
More carrots?
Maybe. But most likely it's going to be turning into a large coffee with 2 cream on Friday, which then I can be caffeinated and then write more books.
I thought maybe it was going to be Pizza Pockets.
Pizza Pockets are so good. Weird thought though. Would shredded carrot be good in a pizza pop?
Well, I mean, it depends on the other ingredients. Like we said before, the dough is a vessel for what's inside.
Oh no, my brain went the darkest timeline. Because originally I'm like, okay, we could do like carrots and pizza toppings, but you're like, the dough's a vessel. I'm like, oh god, are we putting in like velvet cake and cream cheese and carrot into this pizza pop? Or did we just make a Pop-Tart instead?
I was gonna say, shredded carrots add a surprising hint of sweetness to the dish that you make.
I find they're really good in jambalaya. Also, our episode's still going, so maybe we should wrap it up, but I don't know, like carrots and jambalaya is surprisingly solid.
Never actually tried it, but I don't doubt it.
I mean, you got some red sauce, you got some carrots, you got some Italian sausage, you got some shrimpies, which you'd probably skip. You got some chicken, you got some blackening spice. You know what's great?
Anyways.
We get like a solid numbers of downloads of this podcast a week. We just rambled for an hour and 20 minutes. We waited till an entire episode of X-Men 97 played before we even hit our topic. And I'm like, oh man, if I knew in advance you read Frieren, I would have Frieren for an hour and a half. Series is great. It dethroned Attack on Titan and Full Metal Alchemist this week. Good stuff. Now I'm gonna click the end stream button now.
Bye.
Bye. Man, I'm so happy you read it.